For professional advice with a personal touch, consult FL Fuller Landau, Chartered Professional Accountants and Business Advisors. Click on flmontreal.com.
Good evening. Welcome to today's Entrepreneur, presented by FL Montreal, a program about the entrepreneurial spirit that drives Quebec business. My name is Dan Delmar, along with FL Montreal's Josh Miller. Good evening, sir.
Hello, Dan.
And this evening, we're going to take a dive into the wonderful world of real estate. Very hot world of real estate here in Montreal.
And cutthroat. I mean, there's a lot of people out there. There's a lot of brokers. There's a lot of advisors out there. Not easy.
Tanya and Tiffanie will be along from Proprio Actif. They've been together for about 10 years. They met each other in real estate school and developed this business, and they're going to join us in a little bit. And later in the program, a tax partner at FL, Ernie Furt, our regular contributor, joins us again to talk about real estate and taxes, of course, because it can get complicated there. But first, some news stories and a question of the week. I'll start, Josh, with talking about business and networking and social media. As you know, I'm not a huge networker.
Two out of the three topics I like so much.
But I have to say, you know how on social media there's like hockey Twitter or there's like Expos Twitter, whatever niche you're a part of, you can always find a community with the right amount of followers or the right hashtags. There's always someone there for you. And so I've noticed the growth of Montreal business LinkedIn in the last couple of years especially. I mean, we have people that we had on the show actually who are super competent professionals who are these LinkedIn celebrities getting tens of thousands of interactions and exposure sometimes on a weekly basis. And I'm wondering, what advice would you give to these sort of LinkedIn influencers? How much networking is too much? And is there such a thing as too much networking and too much exposure?
I don't know if there's too much networking, but the question is, what do you plan on getting from the networking? First of all, are you a professional? Are you selling a product? Are you selling another type of service? Kind of where do you stand as an entrepreneur at the get-go? If you're selling a product and you just want to get all that product out there and show the benefits, well, there's probably not enough because you need that constant visibility and constant brand awareness. As a service person, it's constant brand awareness and all that. But what are you brand awaring? I know that's not a term, but what are you displaying? As a professional or as somebody giving services, is your reputation going to be built based on your social media and what you show out there, or do you build your reputation and then display that on social media? How will for people to go and you're marketing, your networking, you want to show them what your knowledge is. You want to show them what your product is. It's easy for a product. It's static. You can show it. You can talk about the features. As a professional or somebody that's offering service, well, you need to try and display your knowledge. You need to, try and ensure that your reputation is that of somebody giving professional services. How do you do that? I come back to is it a chicken and egg? You want your visibility. You want to be out there all the time so that your name gets recognized, but you also want to ensure that the knowledge is done. So if you're constantly educating people online, you're displaying that knowledge, I think that's great. If you're networking and doing a whole bunch of other things and just making sure your name is out there without displaying that knowledge, what does it really add other than name recognition? Which isn't bad, but is that really what's bringing in dollars into your business?
Yeah, I think the larger debate is on influencer marketing. It's not something that we do, but it certainly has been effective and frankly has worked on me. I am inspired by brands that have a powerful spokesperson and that project confidence. And I think of some of these LinkedIn Montreal celebrities. There are a couple that I've had professional confidence in, and it works. To some degree, I think it works, but long term, I'm not sure.
For product or for service?
Good question. I think it's in both cases for services that I'm thinking of. Yeah, people that I've seen that they're out there, they're putting themselves out there, and for some reason, just the act of putting themselves out there inspires more confidence in me as a consumer.
No, and if that is somebody that has a great reputation and has known not to steer people wrong or not, to give false information, well, that's great. But there's, I don't follow the influencer world, but I'm sure there's a number out there that, take their money, name the product online and run with it.
All right. Well, I just want to pick your brain on that. So yeah, have some substance along with the influencing, ideally. This is interesting. A fashion story that you want to get to today. This is from Fast Company. Rent the Runway. Tell us about that.
So this is more about partnership. This is more about Rent the Runway. For those of you who don't know, it's online. It's clothing online. Renting your clothing. Guess a little bit of sale in the clothing business. Their teaming up with Nordstrom's. So they're teaming up with a bricks and mortar store to develop a brand and maybe bring it online. I think there's, we talk a lot about consolidation in different industries. I think this is a level of collaboration that can truly help both sides, because you're really mixing, and it's two different brands. So you're really trying to get the most of everything. Now, there might be a little bit of crossover from the customer niche that they're both seeking, but I don't think there's a ton. Although I don't have the stats, so you can't quote me on it, but it's two rather different markets. And for them to collaborate, I think is tremendous. And I think the message here is you never know where your next best partner is going to be. And it might not be in your exact field or exact sector. Think outside of the box, because sometimes 1 + 1 can make 3.
Back to social media.
Says the accountant.
Back to social media for a second, and this from entrepreneur.com. Instagram has now begun hiding likes. So when you see a post, it's not obvious how popular that post is. What does that mean for brands, and yes, for influencers that we mentioned earlier, when their currency is likes?
Well, I could throw the question right back at you. Are the number of likes really? Is that what defines what a great influencer is? Is it really more about the content? Is it really more about what, we spoke about content a lot last week, Dan, with the image salon, but just likes in and of itself, impressions in and of itself, is one factor, but I don't think it's the be all and end all. It's where is the substance behind that content? And I think Instagram, I think it's a great exercise, because the whole goal is to have solid, I guess, real content and real opinions, and not just the question of likes and influencers. So I think it's kind of great that Instagram is hiding it, but what it means for the brands and the influencers is you might actually have to develop your opinion and write a little bit more and really get to know what product or service you're influencing. Or how do you see that with all the likes?
Well, I was going to say, or use other metrics that are more reliable over the long term. I've always said that likes and they use different, they have to expand the parameters for success in social media now. So they use engagements, they use views. This can mean, if a post scrolls by you for a split second, they can count that as a view, for example. So it's very deceitful, those metrics in general. So over the long term, we're going to have to sort of find a way to judge what is successful content beyond the immediate, because Facebook hires a bunch of neuroscientists to get you to click on things, but they don't hire them to get you to remember things. So that's I think, the evolution of this conversation eventually.
It is. I mean, at the end of the day, what we've heard time and time again, what we kind of see is authenticity sells. Being genuine sells. Just because there's a lot of likes doesn't mean there's authenticity behind it. Doesn't mean there's a lot of reality behind it.
This from entrepreneur.com. One-on-one meetings are the key to great leadership. How do you do a one-on-one meeting efficiently, Josh?
Well, so first of all, one-on-one meetings are designed. One-on-one meetings are not designed for the person walking in, not designed for the boss. It's designed, and it's not necessarily designed to go and just suck out information and knowledge from the employee. It's really to make some type of connection, to make something meaningful. So, we keep talking about talent war. We keep talking about it's hard to keep people. So one great way is to actually spend time with the team, spend time one-on-one with the team. So there's a few things in there that this article, and it's so true, because bosses, entrepreneurs that run teams really should every now and then go and sit with their team members one-on-one. Don't make it about you. That's, rule number one. It's not about you. You're going in there to make them feel comfortable and make them, or help, hopefully, that they feel more comfortable. Don't skimp on chit chat. It's okay if they talk about their kids or what they did for the weekend, or if you remember what they did at the end of last week to follow up on it. It actually shows that you care, and it really ties you in more. And I will say one thing: if you're truly sincere about having a one-on-one with somebody you work with, one of your team, one of your staff, put your phone away. Don't sit and talk with them and keep staring at your phone.
All right. Coming up next, we're going to get to our guests for the evening and talk a little bit about real estate. We're going to speak to the owners of Proprio Actif, and they will be along in just a second, Tanya and Tiffanie. But
For professional advice with a personal touch, consult FL Fuller Landau, Chartered Professional Accountants and Business Advisors. Click on flmontreal.com.
Inspiring stories from outstanding business people. Dan Delmar and FL Montreal's Josh Miller with you for today's Entrepreneur. And let's welcome our guest into studio, Tanya, Boni, and Tiffanie Rothwell of Proprio Actif. Welcome to you both.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you. It's an honor.
Now, the easiest question of the night could be a hard one. And sometimes it's obvious, but sometimes it's not so obvious. What is Proprio Actif?
Tiff, take it away.
Proprio Actif is a full-service real estate company. It's a team of 6 brokers and 2 staff members, kind of trying to change the world of real estate one little step at a time.
With our own style.
Yeah.
Now, what does that mean, full service?
It means that we provide everything. When it comes to selling, buying, flipping, renovating, designing, we have a full, our office is full of home staging. There's really nothing that we won't do to get the property sold.
We take care of renovation design, video, drone photography.
Yes.
We have it all, A to Z.
Excellent. Now, so let's now go backwards in time a little bit. When did you guys start this? Or when did you guys get together and meet?
11 years ago.
Yeah, we actually met in real estate school. Tanya and I joined at the same time. I don't know what it was like for you, Tanya, but for me, it was instant. I saw her and I was like, yeah, she's going to be my work wife for the rest of my life.
Love at first sight.
She's married, though, unfortunately. No, but we had a bit of success in the past. Tanya had an event planning company. I had, I was doing a bit, well in tech sales and bartending on the weekends. And we just saw eye to eye and decided to partner up. And
we shared the same values and we joined forces, so to speak.
Now,
yeah.
you know very little going, this is a tough business. This is not necessarily for the faint of heart.
Right.
At least you found, did you guys realize that if you pair up, you might have a better chance of success than just doing it on your own?
I think so, yes. And, we believe in abundance too. It can be cutthroat, but we're a very open company. We regularly host masterminds with other agents from different agencies. And we believe there's enough to go around. So
yeah, and I think getting into real estate was definitely difficult at the time. 10 years ago, there wasn't the same technology. We didn't have these fancy drones and things that really wow clients. So Tanya and I started by cold calling. And cold calling is 100% rejection. So when you talk about having thick skin and kind of just going for it, not fearing rejection, we totally saw eye to eye on that.
Our average was literally 1 to 100. 100
Yeah.
no's for every one yes that we got.
100 doors slammed for everyone that said yes. And to be honest, we loved that. We thrived in that environment. I don't know if it's because we're competitive or because we had each other or maybe both, but we just loved it.
And rejection was something we became used to. We didn't let it stop us. In fact, it was something that motivated us.
Yeah, I agree with that. That was well said, partner.
So guys, you mentioned the drones. What other edges are you guys applying to make your business stand out in what is a super competitive real estate market in Montreal right now?
Mm-hmm. That's a great question.
I think home staging sets us aside from a lot of different agents who are in this industry right now.
Mm-hmm. I think also virtual home staging has changed our business because it's something that we've kind of mastered. So if you have an empty property or if your property isn't, furnished the best way, sometimes they're 50-year-old homes and the furniture is also 50-year-old. So we come in there and we can design a whole new kitchen, a whole new bathroom. We can put furniture that looks like it's from a magazine, and that's all included in our service. It's not an extra.
Is that an off-the-shelf software? You're just using the technology that's out there?
Yes, it's a free program.
You just have to go out there and find it. But literally, it's because people are visual and we're able to show them different options that are out there for them.
And Tanya pointed on home staging. I think a lot of teams, what they do is they hire a home stager, and it is a big expense. It's about $1,500 to the client, and the home stager comes in, kind of revamps the space. Tanya and I were like, how are we going to invest in ourselves and invest in our business? So we outfitted our office with shelves and shelves of pillows and vases and
color
paintings,
schemes,
all different kinds of things, so that we literally come in with 8 IKEA bags to every single shooting. It takes us 4 hours, but the property always looks stunning.
So it sounds like there's also interior design capacity or capability. Is that something that you guys do? Did you outsource it? You just had a flair for it?
We love it. I mean, it's something that we touch on each time depending on what the property needs.
I think it became a really learned thing just because we shopped with so many buyers and they would say, oh, I like this. Oh, I like this. Oh, I like that. And each time we made a mental note of what people like, and even subconsciously, we would transform a listing that we would have based on how someone else likes something. So I think that was based on experience. I think we're both very creative. We love, the industry is very tech oriented and very business oriented. So adding that creative part of it just fulfills us. I think.
It makes a huge impact on what it shows in the photos or in a video.
We've had clients say we don't want to move anymore. That's happened
Literally.
more than once.
I've seen that on HGTV once or twice.
Oh, yeah.
Now it is not just the two of you. You said you have a small team.
Yes.
So do you have is there a right hand? Is there a left hand? Is it all collaborative? Do you have different people doing very different tasks? There's a lot of overlap. How has it worked for you?
So I think that we all have the same values when it comes to real estate in general, but we all offer different strengths.
Yeah.
We work with different buyers and sellers depending on personalities.
Yeah.
So do you hire your team with that in mind? Like when you hire, what do you look for?
It's funny. It's not really how we've gone about it, but it's sort of what became the model. So I guess what we started doing right now is every different member in our team operates differently and wants something different out of their business. So that's where we bring value as the leaders, is how do we develop it so that they're doing exactly what they love to do. So we definitely have one broker who's fantastic listing properties. She's a go-getter. She's a shark. She wants to close them in multiple offers. She got an offer on an Instagram post from a buyer in China. It's really cool. And we have another broker who
loves working with
buyers and can convert at a very high level. Converting in our industry means when someone goes to an open house who's unrepresented, can she essentially get them as her client?
She becomes their friend. She'll literally go to their house for dinners on a Sunday.
Yeah. She'll show up to their bridal showers and weddings and things like that. So yes, definitely different people fill in different, but it just happened that way.
How do you find your people? Are they gravitating towards you? Are you searching out? Are you reaching out? Like over the years, you've been doing this for 10 years now. So how have you found your team over the time?
Things,
That's a great question. I think so far everyone has gravitated towards us. I don't think we've seized the opportunity yet in building in numbers. I think that's one thing that we'll consider doing in the future as we get better with this whole thing. But to date, everyone has kind of been pulled in, and it either, we go through a really intensive recruiting process.
Personality profiles that we do, interview process, and then Tiffany's favorite, the coffee
test.
The coffee test, yes. We've heard so much about it. Actually, we haven't heard a thing about it. What is this coffee test?
Well, like I was saying, the recruiting process is really extensive just because there's so many interviews and personality tests. And then we talk about goals. What are your vision? How do you operate? How do you care about people? Because our industry is how are you really bringing value and servicing your clients? And the coffee test is just after everything. Is this candidate perfect? Can we have coffee with them? Just talking about life, about goals, about their family. Will we enjoy half an hour talking with them? And if it's yes, then welcome to the team.
We're all for it.
How much does it is a cutthroat business. There's a lot of people out there, and a lot of it is about money.
Mm-hmm.
How is it that does money ever impact or impede your hiring somebody? Is that the driving incentive, or you try and find other ways to make them feel part of the team? Like what's worked for you when you didn't have to throw tens of thousands of dollars at somebody?
I think anyone who's solely motivated by money would never fit in our team. It would be a very short-term hire. Our culture is the opposite of that. We believe that the more value we provide, the better service we offer, the money will just come. That's really what we believe in. We wouldn't have been in a
partnership for so long, I think, if we were really just focused on the money.
That's definitely true.
Quick question just popped in my head. You were talking about drones before.
Yes.
Is your drone still intact, or have you busted it?
We've busted
it
so many times.
But it's all learning.
But you know what? That's great about these companies is that you send it to get fixed. They send it back to you 2 weeks later, and you're good to go.
Is droning really important in your business? I mean, who really looks at their house
fancy.
from the top?
It's fun. Fancy. It's fancy. It makes the house look nice. The sellers love it. Buyers love it.
If you have a nice backyard, or you're backing onto a golf course, which we just had a couple months ago, if you have a backdrop of a mountain, it's so hard to show that in a regular, beautiful photo. Yeah. So drone photo it showcases all those extra pieces.
The location too.
And I think, one of the aspects I want to explore, when we come back, because you guys have been this for 10 years, is you're not actually at the same office for the last 10 years. You've
Right.
switched a couple of times.
We have.
Going to be very interesting to hear what's worked for you and what hasn't worked for you, and why you are where you are today.
And coming up, we'll talk to Ernie about real estate and taxes. Today's entrepreneur on CJAD 800, Tanya, Boni, and Tiffanie Rothwell of Proprio Actif are our guests this evening.
For professional advice with a personal touch, consult FL Fuller Landau, Chartered Professional Accountants and Business Advisors. Click on flmontreal.com.
Welcome back to today's Entrepreneur, a program about the entrepreneurial spirit that drives Quebec business. Dan Delmar and FL Montreal's Josh Miller with you, and we're chatting on real estate tonight with Tanya, Boni, and Tiffanie Rothwell of Proprio Actif. And just looking at your following on the social media, guys, you're doing very well. We like
Thank
to
you.
check up on that once in a
Thanks.
while. So you're big on Instagram, huge on Facebook, I see, well over 5,000 likes. So that's really, really good. What is your social media strategy, and how integral is it to your business?
That's a great question.
I think it was a work in progress for me,
It was.
anyways.
Oh yeah, I've been pushing Tanya like every single year. No, but I think you've been great with it, and for us, it's a way of connecting with people. I mean, we meet so many clients there first before they become our actual client.
Yes.
It's a great way of showcasing listings. I mean, there's so many tools now that you could promote a listing with, or you can promote a sale that you've had to generate more leads to yourself. I think it's been invaluable. Gone are the days of newspaper ads.
Yes.
We haven't done those in like 8 years.
But
Like
you
two
did
years,
used to do
yes.
that.
We
We
did when we
did.
first started. We didn't
We
know better.
did. But we definitely don't do that anymore. So social media plays a huge part in our company. Absolutely.
When is there one particular aspect, like Dan was saying, Facebook was important, Instagram,
Yes.
no question, is important.
No
Absolutely.
question.
Did you ever
yeah.
use Pinterest? Did
I
you ever
love
use any other
Pinterest.
forms of social media?
I use Pinterest probably most of all, but it's for a different part of our business. It's not to lead generate. It's really to
Exactly.
design all of our renovation projects, all of our flips, all of the things we do for clients to kind of relook designs. It's 100% on Pinterest. I have probably over 100 boards, and sometimes it's based on demographics. So in NDG, this is what they're looking for. In Point Claire, this is what they're looking for. Because obviously in the Sud-Ouest, you're not going to get the same renovation style as Westmount. So that's what Pinterest is used for.
Any social media platforms that you actually don't think are doing so well or wouldn't work so well for you?
We don't use Twitter that much.
Or Snapchat. I
Yeah.
can't get used to that, man. I don't know how you guys are doing it.
I'm just getting
but-
used to
Oh, yeah,
Instagram.
yeah. I don't get the whole snapping thing, but you know what? Maybe I'm becoming a dinosaur. Who knows? But
Is there anything, so marketing, because you've been marketing for the last 10 years since you've been
Absolutely.
together.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything that just didn't work at all that you learned from, or stuff that, or you kind of progressed as you grew with the times?
I think we tried Twitter for a while. It phased out for us because Instagram and Facebook were our main sources
Yeah.
for networking.
we've tried to buy leads. That was a huge failure.
Yes.
We've tried pay-per-clicks, and the conversion ratio is like 0.001.
A lot of them were
Um,
epic fails.
That was a big one, I think, for us, for sure. We've tried to buy from different companies that sell leads to you or virtually cold call. I'm sorry, not virtual. Yeah, virtually cold call. And that did not work. We spent a lot of money on that. In like, not six figures, but definitely five figures.
It was all trial and error.
like our entire business. We've really
Exactly.
been failing forward. Yeah,
So in the end, organic is the best then for your business, you think?
right now.
And the type of clients we have, I think we've had the best result with that.
As we grow, hopefully technology will change with us as well, and there'll be tons of other tools that we'll be developing or we'll be jumping on. But for now, everything is very organic.
And we evolve with the times.
Hmm.
You've been doing this for a long time. Do you remember, like, when you first got into it, do you remember, like, one of your first offers and,
Oh
you know,
my
without the
God.
knowledge that you've
It's
accumulated to today?
ingrained in our head.
It was so bad.
And kind of what did you learn from that? Like, what changed your view on that going forward?
I think I learned that we go in
What was
full
it? I mean,
confidence. But what did you learn, Tanya?
Well,
through this
explain
whole
the story
process?
first so we
Yeah.
have an understanding where you start.
So our very first offer, I think we'd been in the business maybe a week or two.
Yeah.
We'd gone to see a beautiful penthouse condo in Old Montreal with a client who probably knew that we were newer agents.
Mm-hmm.
So he wanted to put a lowball offer. And when I mean lowball, it was half the price of this of this penthouse condo, which you can imagine.
And we were so excited with that offer.
Yes. We wrote up that offer and we ran right to the agent's office. And this agent was one of the top selling agents in Westmount at the time.
Yeah.
So we went in to see her, and she was pretty upset when she saw the offer.
Upset is an understatement.
Yeah.
She wanted to throw us out of her office
Literally.
at first. Yeah. And for good reason. We showed up with an offer half filled out, half price. It was really embarrassing at the time, but I think we turned that one around because she ended up becoming a really good contact of ours, and we
She helped us
collaborated
a lot.
with her many times. Yeah.
She taught us a lot, and I think that touches on another lesson. You're intimidated by some of these agents, and you say the market is cutthroat, but there are a lot of agents who are willing to share and teach you and mentor you to what they know.
So let's talk about agencies. You know,
Yes.
there's very few, I guess, real estate brokers that are completely on their own and independent. There's a lot of agencies out there. You're in your third one now, I
We are.
believe.
Yeah.
Take us through the progression about, you know, why the first one, why the move to the second, then go to the third. What worked for you? What didn't work for you?
So for us, we started with a small boutique agency in Westmount. We thought that brought a lot of value to us because of the dynamic of the agency. It was just the right fit for us at the time. We were starting and we were hungry.
Yeah. And the agency owner
And
at the time.
it was not expensive to be part of it, or did price come into play?
In this case, no, because I was 22 and Tanya was really young at the time, and
Yes.
we knew we needed the right fit in terms of the leadership. And the leadership at the time was built on adversity and just going for things, and we really fit with that. So we didn't mind the price tag, and we didn't mind the lack of tools or resources. We loved the mindset, and we loved that motivated drive that it gave us.
The culture of that particular agency.
Absolutely.
That was the right fit for us at that time. This was going back 10 years.
Right.
How long were you at that agency, approximately?
We were there about 4 years.
Yeah, we stay loyal to, I find, brokerages for a long period of time.
So now, why the switch from there? What wasn't fulfilling what you needed to do?
We needed a change. I think we were starting to grow.
And we'd hit a ceiling of how we could grow within that brokerage at the time. So we were recruited by a really big banner, and it was the first time we had ever learned of any of the tools that a big banner could offer. Imagine going from a startup company, small,
To a major corporation.
to like a really, exactly, that's very well said. And we loved it. We jumped in head first. And again, a couple years later, we felt like we hit a ceiling there as well because we had all the tools. We developed everything to be perfect for us. And we were looking for the next.
So a few years later, I think we were outgrowing that particular environment as well. And then came
Outgrowing
on-
because they didn't have the right tools, because it was the wrong culture, because it was
culture.
the wrong people around the room. Like what was
wrong
what didn't work?
culture. Wrong culture.
You know what? I feel like people in general have really gotten on top of this trend of coaching and personal development and business coaching. And we had never heard of those terms before until someone called us out of the blue and said, "Hey, I want to go for coffee. I want to talk to you about what I'm bringing into Montreal." We sat down with this person who was a business coach, and he just slid a book across the table. And he was like, "I think you'd like this." And it changed our life. It really changed. We started getting more into personal development and tons of coaching. We started getting into the idea of building a team, which we had never thought of it before. It was just Tanya and I and an administrative assistant. So that coaching is what made us kind of switch to that brokerage.
What was the book?
It's called The One Thing by
Thing.
Gary Keller. Yeah.
So now
Great
you
book.
switched to this. So does the current agency, because you're with the third one now, you're still with it.
We're still
That's
with
the
them.
one. Yeah.
What attracted you there? How much did this book in relation to the current agency and what you needed to do? How was that?
It just stretched our mind and stretched our business. And we suddenly had all these different coaching seminars to go to and all these different things to do. And now that's pretty standard for every entrepreneur. But you can imagine at the time we felt like tiny fish in a giant sea where we just
It was
wanted
new
to
to
swim
us.
everywhere. Yeah, it was new and wonderful. And we felt super aligned with the vision that they cast.
We're always looking for more, and I think that really challenged us to do more, and raise the bar.
We believe that our business grows to the extent that we do. So really taking on all that extra knowledge was key.
We spoke about networking earlier in the show. How important is networking to you guys? And is that a big form of marketing, putting yourselves out there in the community and all that?
Absolutely. And I think networking with people, but networking with other agents as well.
Yeah.
We have a lot of clients outside of Montreal that are referred to us by other agents in Toronto or Ottawa. So we network quite often with a lot of different people.
Collaboration is key in our business right now. When you're against 11 other offers, if you're really good at collaborating and your reputation is really good, you'll most likely be favored among the 11 other offers. So your client ends up winning more than not. And we try and teach our team that as well. It's really important to be great collaborators.
So networking with agents and clients and potential clients is all very important. It goes hand in hand.
Mm-hmm.
When you started, you also started buying and selling your own properties.
Yes.
We did.
And how long ago did you start that?
For me, it was 3 years ago.
About the same, yeah.
Yeah, and for another one, most of our team members are older, so they've been doing it for a long time. We have one agent who builds his own homes, and he Airbnbs them, and it's a really great business, and it's really cool. Love to talk to you about that, but that we can do a whole other show on. We could come back if you want us to.
We learned a lot.
No, there is really so much, because it's not just about the agency. It's about buying and selling and renovating and staging, all that stuff. So no, very interesting. Thank you.
There's so many branches to real estate.
Oh yeah.
We'll have your one piece of advice in a few minutes, so hang on for that, guys. And coming up, once you sold the property, well, there's the tax issues, and there's a few of those to deal with, and Ernie Furt will take us through that in just a moment.
For professional advice with a personal touch, consult FL Fuller Landau, Chartered Professional Accountants and Business Advisors. Click on flmontreal.com.
Today's entrepreneur inspiring stories from outstanding business people. Dan Delmar and FL Montreal's Josh Miller with you, and our guests this evening, Tanya Boni and Tiffanie Rothwell of Proprio Actif, and we'll have their one piece of advice for today's entrepreneur in a few minutes. But first, we welcome back Ernie Furt, tax partner at FL, to talk about real estate and taxes and all those complications. Welcome back, Ernie.
Thank you.
So, Josh, we've sell the place. Obviously, there are complications. We'll talk about capital gains and others in a few minutes, but something that we should all be conscious of for sure.
No question. And I think, there is a lot of talk about real estate. Is it buying? Is it selling? Is it buying a property here? Or is it maybe buying or selling a property in the U.S.? Is it buying it and operating it as rental income? Is it buying, renovating it and flipping it? There's so many different aspects.
Is it residential? Is it
commercial?
GST? No GST? All the fun stuff that you could discuss on this time.
Exactly. So let's talk first about, buying and we're coming up to winter. So quickly, let's get this out of the way. You want to buy a property in the States and you want to sell it down the road. What are the few things you got to keep in mind?
Depending where the money is coming from. Okay. So you have two choices. You have your own money personally. You're going to borrow it, whatever. Or you have money sitting in a corporation. So you have two choices as to where to take it from. And that question is, what are you going to do with it? What's the purpose of the purchase? Is it for your own enjoyment?
We'll say yes.
Okay,
personal
let's say
enjoyment.
Yes.
No, I'm going to take it back. You're going to rent. You're going to buy a place. You're going to use it. You're going to rent it out now, and you might use it for yourself down the road because you want to retire in Arizona, but you're not ready there yet because you have a business and you're running it. But there's an opportunity. There's a great buy to happen now. You're going to buy it. You're going to rent it, and then use it later.
Okay. So let's say I do it through a corporation. So right away, I'm going to buy it. I may finance part of it, and I'll purchase the property and rent it out. So I have to file a tax return now, but I have to file a U.S. return because the property is sitting in Arizona. So I'm going to file a U.S. federal return plus an Arizona state return. On that, there's not going to be too much tax in Arizona. I don't think there's any actually on the corporate side there is. Sorry, I am forced to take my depreciation in the U.S. Unlike here in Canada, where depreciation is a choice. So that's what I would do. And if I'm going to use that for my own self potentially, then there's a taxable benefit issue, and that's complicated.
Now, what if it's the opposite? What if it was somebody in the U.S. buying a property here and renting it out?
Then there's withholding tax.
Is there a lot of filing requirements?
There's a lot of filing requirements with respect to buying a property here and renting it out. Let's say for the most part, we'll talk about individuals doing that. So an individual comes up here, buys a property, and says he wants to rent it. So you're kind of forced into a situation where either you're going to pay 25% withholding tax on the gross rental income and you're done and you don't have any other responsibility to do as long as you remit that 25% of the gross rental income, or you have a choice and you say, you know what, I would rather file a tax return and pay on the net rental income. So then you have to make an election. You have to have a Canadian agent who's going to pay them the monthly withholding, and it's going to be 25% on the net rental income as opposed to the gross rental income. And then you're going to file a tax return where you could claim depreciation, and you're going to pay the requisite amount of tax on that. And when you sell it, there's a capital gain, both federal and Quebec. But for the rental part, there's only a 25% federal tax. You do not pay anything to Quebec.
You said a 4-letter word earlier called sales tax.
Yes.
That doesn't apply on residential stuff.
If it's new, it applies. Okay, so you could purchase a new property. I'm assuming that it's going to be in Canada because we're not dealing with anything in the United States with that. But you get a new rental property or a substantially renovated rental property, or a personal residence that's new. You're going to pay GST and QST on that. You may or may not be subject to a rebate, depending on the value of the purchase of the property, both rental and personal. If the value is over $450,000, if you paid over $450,000, you're not getting a cent back with respect to GST. If it's under, you may have an opportunity to get some of those dollars back, but maybe not a whole heck of a lot.
We were chatting before with Tanya and Tiffanie about buying and renovating and selling properties. The thought process, and as you're planning, as entrepreneurs buy and sell, they do have to take into account the tax consequences. There's capital gains tax, but then there's just regular business income and regular tax.
Depends on your frequency and depends on your intention. If your intention is to buy, renovate, sell, that's not a capital gain. You can try for it, but if you don't have the facts that support it, it won't be considered to be a capital gain by the tax authorities. And over here in Quebec, we're fortunate enough to have 2 tax authorities. Both Quebec and the federal government will look at your stuff.
Very fortunate.
Very fortunate.
I know a lot of boomers that are in the following scenario. So empty nest, et cetera, et cetera. They want to downsize. The choice then becomes, do I just flip it as is and, profit from the real estate market? Or do I invest and try to flip it for something a little bit greater? Can you avoid capital gains in that situation if you're renovating to sell?
I'm renovating to sell, but I'm renovating my own house. Is that what you're saying, Dan? On your own house, for Canadian purposes, right now, you can get $1 million gain, a $2 million gain, and it's not taxable. Okay? It's a principal residence exemption. So if you have no other real estate that you lived in or claimed a principal residence exemption on, and you owned it from day one and lived in it from day one until the day you sold it, then you get a full 100% principal residence exemption. So if you want to invest a little bit money into the property in order to spruce it up or to make it even better, then go ahead. The only thing that you should not do is completely gut the property to its 4 bare walls, because at that point in time you have something called a substantial renovation for GST and QST purposes, where you're going to have to sell that property with GST and QST as opposed to not. And you're going to be deemed to be a builder, and we can do a whole other show on that.
Oh, wow.
Fun
This is
stuff.
complicated.
It is. But you raised a point earlier, intent. Intent is big.
No, you don't sell a tent. You're not going to sell a tent. You're not going to get much for it.
No selling tents, maybe in the desert, but not here in the cold desert. But intent, how important is that, and is it require, how tangible does the proof have to be?
If you're listing something with Tanya and Tiffanie to rent, and you're not getting the bites. All of a sudden, you decide to sell, or you decide to list it with somebody else. You renovate a little bit for the purposes of renting the property. You can't afford the not having any revenue coming in. So all of a sudden, your intent changes. So now I got to sell because I can't afford the monthly payments, because I don't have my rent coming in as I want the rent to come in. So at that point in time, you're switching your intent from rental to sell, but you're still going to get a capital gain because the intention, primary intention, there's always primary intention and secondary intention. And this is a
And
whole thing
tertiary
on
intention.
There's always many types of intentions, good intentions and bad intentions. You can keep going for a long time on this.
Excellent. Thanks very much, Ernie. I know it's a big topic, so it's a lot to cover in just a short period of time. Thanks very much.
Thanks.
And as we approach the last moment of our show, as we do each week, we'll turn to Tanya and Tiffanie and ask you each, what would be your one piece of advice for today's entrepreneur? We'll start with Tiffanie.
That's a great question. I think my piece of advice would be to really not fear rejection and just go for it. Even when everyone is saying no, if your gut feeling is really to do something and you're going to ruffle a few feathers, just do it. Trust your gut.
Excellent. And Tanya?
Just be persistent, and like Tiffanie was saying earlier, fail forward. You learn from all of your experiences, whether they're negative, positive. There's always something to take from every experience.
Excellent. Thank you very much, ladies. Dan, I agree. We hear it often, and I couldn't agree more. You don't have to be a perfectionist. If you wait for that, things will just never happen.
Josh, you're off next week. For
Next 2 weeks,
actually.
heading to Asia, heading to Hong Kong.
Wow.
Rubber bullets will bounce off me. That's okay.
Don't forget to bring your helmet. We'll see you back here in 2 weeks. And next Monday, Michael Newton will be in from FL, of course. And we're going to...
The next 2 Mondays, actually.
Nice follow-up. Actually, we'll talk about home decor next week with Maison La Paris, so stay tuned for that. Thanks very much to Tanya and Tiffanie of Proprio Actif. Guys, best of luck.
Thank you
Thank you
guys
so
so
much for
much.
having
This
us.
was great.
And Ernie Furt, tax partner at FL. Thanks, Ernie. We'll see you soon. Don't forget a decade's worth of entrepreneur profiles at today'sentrepreneur.org. All there, and we'll see you back here next Monday night at 7. Good night.